Hey you, I'm Sarah Turner. I'm a freelance medical copywriter and I want to take a step back because I talk a lot about, getting big clients and making great money as a copywriter. But let's just start at the beginning. Like, what can you do to make your first $1,000 as a copywriter? And the first thing is first, like I really love the advice to hand copy, where you can find lots of examples on swipe.co to do this with, because it usually takes a few days for people to realize why it's such a common piece of advice. So I'm going to start there because I think it's important to get over just the paralysis of even getting started. And a good way to do that is through hand copying. So it's not going to make you money, but I do think it's a great way to get you out of all the fear that comes up when you're first getting started, because I just remember what it was like to be totally paralyzed. So it's kind of nice to just hand copy things, not mindlessly, but without having to come up with words myself. So really take that advice seriously. You've heard me say it before, but I think it really helps kind of get the ideas flowing. You'll start to learn the rhythm and the tone and the different things people use when they're copywriting. So that's one little piece of advice, but let's really dig into the meat of this video, which is how to get those first few clients. So when you're first starting out, it can be really scary to reach out to people, or, when you look at Upwork, you see how little people are charging and job boards. But really, I can't tell you the power that there is in just getting that very first client. So the best places I have found, and I have found my students figure out are the best places, is to really use your contacts. So first of all, do you know anyone in marketing already? Can you reach out to them? Can you offer to do a few blogs or something like that, which is kind of the low-hanging fruit at a good, affordable rate? Do you know anyone who runs a business? We pretty much all know somebody who runs a business, and it could be, the place where you get your nails done. It could be a vendor from your wedding, all of those people. Like, think about where you go throughout your day. All of those places are businesses that could use a copywriter probably. And a lot of businesses have an online presence, but don't have somebody who is actually skilled, or at least learning the skills of copywriting, helping them with their written content. So really use your contacts. Do you have family who has maybe a house flipping business, or is a plumber or an electrician? Those guys spend a lot of money on Google ads and really benefit from some, good content marketing strategies. So think about your contacts and the benefit of going for somebody that you already have somewhat of a connection with. And it doesn't need to be like your best friend or your sister. It could be a friend of a friend. But the benefit of working with those people first is that they kind of already know you, and people are a lot more willing to work with somebody they somewhat already know, because they're going to have a baseline of trust. And that's something that you kind of need when you don't really have a portfolio or you're just getting started. So really use your contacts and really get creative about those contacts. Like, as you go throughout your week, think about the different people you come in contact with and ask yourself, would they need copy? So I really love using contacts because, again, it starts with that baseline trust, and it's a great way to get a portfolio piece, to get testimonials, to have practice interacting with like a client, to have practice charging, and that I've just seen so much success with that. So it's become my number one piece of advice for people getting started. You can also look for local or small marketing agencies or content-based agencies. There are a ton of those popping up all over the country right now. I mean, digital marketing agencies are just exploding because there are more and more businesses coming online every single day. So look around in your local area. just do simple Google searches to see who is doing marketing in your area. You'd be surprised. I lived in a very small town in North Carolina and found some work through local content agencies there. So that's another great one. And the great thing about being local is, one, you have that shared connection. Just the fact that you're like in town tends to help people. It doesn't necessarily mean that you need to meet them in person, but then again, you could also meet them in person. So maybe they're just a small agency and they happen to be down the road. You'd be surprised. This happened to me personally, and I know a lot of people that this has happened to. So keep your mind open to people who are kind of right around you and see where you can kind of tap into the network right around you. But you don't have to rely on people in your direct vicinity. That's one of the amazing things about being able to work online these days, is you're not limited to that. In fact, I know so many people who choose these type of careers because they live in a small town and there just aren't a lot of job opportunities. So don't let that hold you back just because I said it. It's good for some people, not great for others. Another thing you could do is you could join digital marketing or copywriting related Facebook groups. There are a bunch of those and they continue to grow. There are job boards for copywriters. And the other thing is if you have an idea for your niche, you could also join groups that aren't copywriting related, which is kind of there are a lot of copywriters hanging out there, but you could join niche related Facebook groups to reach out to people within your niche to gain those first few pieces and get your portfolio building and things like that. So if you decide you're going to write for female entrepreneurs, there are an insane amount of Facebook groups for female entrepreneurs. And keep in mind, you don't need your social media presence to be like, I am a copywriter. I think it's kind of a misconception that you need just to use social media constantly. I do not do that myself. It's not necessary. It takes so much time, and I really like to focus on things that actually move the needle. So keep that in mind. You don't need to have your whole Facebook presence, shouting about copywriting. But yeah, look into Facebook groups. I actually think it's the most beneficial thing that Facebook even offers anymore. I am not a massive fan of Facebook in the sense that it's just so filled with like noise. And I don't really love like spending a ton of time on social media, but I think the most valuable thing Facebook kind of brings to the table still are Facebook groups, because you can find groups for everything. I actually just saw an ad not that long ago about Facebook groups, because they're really starting to advertise that because they know that's like a huge value that they bring. And it was like for kazoo players. And it's no joke. There's literally every kind of group you can find on Facebook. So if you're going to do the Facebook thing, I really recommend starting out, building kind of a presence there, just being helpful. Don't go in there and like straight up sell yourself. Be helpful, answer questions. When people have questions, research it yourself. Use it as a learning process and a learning opportunity. And then eventually you can offer, a few blogs or a few pieces of copy at a very, very reduced rate in exchange for a testimonial. That's another way that you can get some initial clients and start to make that first 1,000K. The other thing that you can do is you can reach out to copywriters in your niche. Now, be really careful about doing this. When you're going to reach out to another copywriter and offer to help them take off either low-paying projects or just extra work that they can't get to, which happens. I do that to myself. When you reach out to them, be really careful that you are remembering that you're talking to a copywriter. So you need to be thinking about their pain points, their struggles, the things that are difficult in their life, and how you're going to help them solve their problems. Showcase your writing when you reach out to them, and just offer to take any extra work off their hands. But just make sure you don't approach them like an employee and send them a resume. Because I can tell you from experience, we copywriters get lots of emails like this. So make sure that you kind of stand apart by really thinking about how you can help them when you take some projects off their hands. Another benefit of doing this is that if you do get a copywriter to kind of take you under their wing, they will mentor you. They'll give you feedback on your work, and you'll have a copywriter giving you direct feedback on your work. And that is worth a lot in and of itself. So that's another place where you can get your first few projects. And I'm also a really big fan of local businesses, people who tend to know that they need to do some marketing, but they aren't doing, the best that they can. Maybe they can't really afford expert copywriter, but there are so many local businesses. Think about all the local shops, the main street in your town, the wine and cheese shop, the salon, all those different people that have businesses and need a solid website or could use some solid blogs. So those are also great people. And again, you have the local connection. You can drop in, say, hey, I'm a real person. This is what I'm doing. And that really helps as well. The other thing I'm going to say is you can do job boards. And I'm not a massive fan of job boards in general, and that only because so many people tend to get stuck there. They start on job boards and then they end up looking for work only on job boards. And when you do that and you're not working on bringing clients into you and you're constantly having to do outreach and apply to jobs, that takes up so much of your time, and that's less time that you can spend actually writing copy and actually making money. So my favorite job boards are ProBlogger, Blogger Pro, and Contenta. So if you are going to do job boards, I'd say maybe stick to those three and really give yourself a limit. Don't spend hours on job boards responding to posts. Maybe just give yourself, 20 minutes a day to respond to one or two. Limit your time on that because it can be a massive time suck. And then another thing that I like to recommend people do is, publish a post on Medium. Think about something, a piece of content or copy, like a blog or a website, something again that's kind of a little bit more approachable in the copy world. Think about like someone that you love and admire. Look at one of their posts and ask yourself, like, what could have been the prompt here? And then just write. Because again, so many people, when they're trying to get that first $1,000 mark, they are hung up on just getting started, which is why I included in here to hand copy. And then sometimes just publishing something on Medium will get you past that little blockade that is holding you back. So that won't make you necessarily any money, although some writers do make money from publishing for Medium if their piece is exceptionally popular. But it will get you started on that road to that first $1,000. So when it comes to pricing, one of the things that I think helps newbie copywriters when they're starting out is pricing kind of based on word count. It's not something when you grow and develop and become more of an expert in your area, you're going to want to price based on value. But when you're starting out, you're probably not sure, like, how much is this worth? How much is a website, page worth? So I think the best thing for people first starting out is to just think of it as a word count and then a price per word count rate. So for example, when I first started, and I tell this story a lot, but when I first started, I made 3 cents per word. So like 1,000-word blog post, which is pretty standard, I made $30. Not great. But that is a good way for you to kind of measure how you're growing, what success looks like, how, and that you're making more money as you become more skilled in this skill set. So I think a good goal is to start out around 80 cents per word, which would be like $80 a blog post. That's still a little low, especially if you're teaching yourself about SEO and some copywriting techniques. But it's a good way to know kind of where to begin, and then kind of see if you can work your way up to 20 cents per word, which would be $200 for a 1,000-word piece. And keep in mind, you want to just take on some projects at a rate and then kind of build the confidence that you're doing well at that rate, that you can get clients at that rate. And once you have that little bit of confidence, you can charge more and raise your rates and kind of build on that. But the great thing about being a copywriter and being self-employed is that you get to choose when that happens. You don't have to wait every year for your 50-cent raise. You can do it within 3 months, 6 months. If you're getting clients and jobs right away at, a lower rate and you're kind of filling up your time slots, like that is an indication to you that it is time to raise your rates. So that's a good price range. And again, when I talk to my clients, I don't say, 80 cents a word or anything like that. I use it in the back of my mind to kind of gauge how I'm going to charge a project. So if somebody says to me, hey, I'd like to make an ebook or an opt-in, it's going to be about this long, maybe 3,000 words. It's like, okay, I can use that kind of length as a guideline to come up with the price of what this project will be. And I will just give them a project price. So those are the best tried and true ways to get to your first $1,000 month as a copywriter. Really, the thing I see happening is that people just get paralyzed in fear. So don't forget to do that mindset work. Try not to be so hard on yourself. You get to learn as you grow and get paid as you grow, and that's pretty amazing. And then everything is in your hands as far as how fast your skill develops, and how fast you get to charge more to your clients and earn more. So hang in there, because I think the first $1,000 that you make is probably the hardest. After that, it's gonna get a lot easier. So hit that thumbs up button if you like this. Leave me comments to tell me what you think, what you want to see in the future. And of course, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Thanks, guys.